Are you waiting for cancer to end before you let yourself live again? Waiting until treatment is finished? Waiting until after the next scan? Waiting for your body to feel normal? Waiting until you finally feel safe? It sounds sensible, but it can become one of the most damaging habits cancer creates. Because the longer you wait for certainty, the more your life gets postponed. In this video, I'm talking about the cancer trap nobody warns you about. I'm going to show you the three-part path that helped me to stop putting my life on hold and that has helped the people that I have worked with over the past 5 years to do the same. First, we'll identify the invisible rule that may be keeping you stuck. Then I'll show you why waiting feels safe but actually makes fear stronger. And finally, I'll give you a practical way to start moving forward today without pretending that cancer is easy or ignoring what you're facing. And there's one question that changed this for me completely, and I'll share that with you later in the video. But first, let's look at how the waiting trap begins. I'm Catherine, an 11-year stage 4 colon cancer survivor, author, and cancer coach. One thing I've learned from my own experience and from coaching people with cancer is this. The people who begin living again aren't always the people with the best prognosis, the clearest scans, or the least fear. This is not about luck. Those people have learned how to stop making certainty a requirement for living. And that's what I want to help you begin doing today. So here's the path we're going to follow. Step 1, we're going to find the rule. Step 2, we're going to challenge the waiting. And step 3, we're going to choose one act of living. So let's start with the rule. Most people do not consciously decide to put their lives on hold. It happens slowly. It begins with saying things like, I'll book a trip after my next scan. I'll make plans when the treatment is over. I'll relax when the doctor says everything is okay. I'll start living normally again when I feel like myself again. Those statements sound practical, but underneath them is a hidden rule. I'm only allowed to live when I feel safe. That's the rule. And cancer makes that rule almost impossible to satisfy because there's always another appointment, another blood test, a scan, a symptom, a question, and another moment when fear says, not yet. This is where many people become stuck. They're not refusing to live. They're waiting for the conditions to feel right. But the conditions keep changing. So here's the first question I want you to ask yourself. What have I told myself must happen before I can start living again? Be specific. Maybe you're waiting for treatment to end, a clear scan, your energy to return, your body to look different, your family to stop worrying, or the fear to disappear. And now finish this sentence. I will let myself live when. Whatever comes next is the rule fear created for you. And once you can see the rule, you can begin questioning it, which brings us to the second step. This is where we challenge the waiting. Waiting can feel protective. It creates the illusion that you are avoiding disappointment. You think, if I don't make plans, I won't have to cancel them. If I don't get excited, I won't be let down. If I don't look too far ahead, I won't be hurt. I understand that. I lived that way too. And after my cancer returned, my oncologist told me I needed to learn how to live with cancer. I hated hearing that. I thought she was telling me to stop hoping. I thought she was asking me to accept less from life. But the real problem wasn't what she said. It was what I believed. I believed life could only begin again after cancer was gone. And that belief gave cancer control over everything. Cancer decided when I could make plans, decided when I could feel hopeful, decided when I could dream, decided when my life could begin. And that's the danger of waiting. Waiting feels like protection, but it often strengthens your fear. Every time you postpone something because you don't feel certain, your brain learns uncertainty is dangerous. Then your world gets smaller. You avoid more, you delay more, you trust yourself less. And eventually, you can feel as though you're watching your life from the sidelines. This is where the question I mentioned earlier changed everything for me. I asked myself, what if waiting for cancer to disappear is costing me the life I still have? And that question was really uncomfortable, but it was honest because I had to admit that not only was I protecting myself, I was also denying myself joy and connection and anticipation and possibility. And I want to be clear about something. Choosing to live does not mean ignoring cancer. We're not putting blinders on here. It doesn't mean skipping appointments. It doesn't mean pretending you're not afraid. It means cancer's part of the decision, but it's not the only voice in the room. If uncertainty has made it difficult for you to make decisions, I've created a free resource called the Next Right Step Guide. It helps you to separate what you know from what fear is telling you. It allows you to reconnect with what matters to you and to choose one manageable step forward. You don't need to solve your entire future. You just need to know what your next step is. You'll find the link to the guide below. Now let's move to the most important part of the path. How do you begin living again when fear is still there? This is where step 3 asks you to choose one act of living. The mistake that a lot of people make is trying to change everything all at once. They think moving forward means booking a trip, changing their whole lifestyle, or becoming fearless. It doesn't. You begin by choosing one act of living. One decision that says, cancer may be part of my life, but it does not get all of it. That decision can be small. It could be making plans for next month, saying yes to dinner, going out for coffee with a friend, calling somebody you miss, starting a new hobby, asking for help, buying the ticket, starting that project you've been putting off, or even just letting yourself look forward to something. The action itself is not the most important part. The message behind it is. You are teaching yourself, I can live even when life is uncertain. That is how confidence begins to return. Not because fear disappears, because you stop letting fear make every decision. When I stopped letting fear lead my life, I was able to make decisions that allowed me to live my life. And there's a huge difference. Cancer has never completely left my story. I live with metastatic cancer. It's always going to be part of my story. So I had to decide to let life in. I had to decide to allow myself to live with cancer one choice at a time. Otherwise, I would be missing out on so much. So let's bring this 3-part path together. Step 1 is to find the rule. I will let myself live when, and name the condition you've created. Step 2 is challenging the waiting. It's asking, is waiting protecting me or is it making my life smaller? And be honest about the cost of that question. Step 3 is about choosing one act of living. It's asking yourself, what is one thing I can do now, even though I do not have certainty? Then do it. Not perfectly, not fearlessly, just intentionally. That is the path. You don't have to move from surviving to thriving in one dramatic leap. You move through repeated choices that remind you that your life is still yours. This work can be difficult to do alone, and you may understand the idea, but still struggle to apply it when scanxiety hits or treatment changes or fear takes over your brain. That's why I created the Cancer Thriver Collective. It's a supportive community for people living with cancer, moving through treatment, or rebuilding life after. Inside, we work through the emotional and practical challenges that cancer creates, focusing on rebuilding confidence, calm, hope, and trust in yourself. You'll find guidance, live community calls, a community chat group, practical tools, and support from people who get where you are, because they are there too. The link to join is below. You don't need to wait until cancer is over to begin living again. You don't need the perfect scan, the complete certainty, the fear to disappear. You just need to make the one decision. Tell me in the comments what's one thing you are ready to stop putting on hold. Your answer may help someone else to realize that they are not alone. And I invite you to watch the next video, Cancer Survivor, 5 Changes to Start Thriving. Today, we talked about how to stop waiting. That video will show you what to change next. Take good care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.